Over the last 3 years, Bendy has made a huge comeback from being almost radio silent for 4 years. As a matter of fact, last year, Bendy 3 was announced in pre-production. There's not a whole lot to unpack in this excuse me. There's not a whole lot to unpack in this teaser image, but let's go and take a look at it. As we can see, there's a bullet here, there's wires all over, and there's a robot arm. Let's go ahead and talk about that. At first, I thought the same thing that everyone else did. This means that the Bendy animatronic from Bendy Chapter 4 is going to finally be used again. And while I wouldn't exactly rule this out yet, it's actually the arm that Tom took from it. I think that this means that the game is going to be more focused on the Gent Corporation and Jayve Studios because... Actually, maybe I should have saved this bit for the end of the video. So let's go ahead and go back a little bit. But first, I've seen a lot of people do this when talking about Bendy. There we go. Much more fitting. Or no, whatever, it works. Anyway, in honor of today being Bendy's 8th anniversary, I'm going to talk about the franchise from its start all the way to where it's currently going. The Bendy franchise started 8 years ago today with Bendy and the Ink Machine. It released a free Chapter 1 on GameJolt, and it was very different from what we have today. The Ink Machine was originally just a little machine in the center of a room. This room behind Henry's desk didn't exist, it was just a door. In later chapters, it was changed to be a boarded-off room with a staircase led to an unknown area. This basin area didn't exist, and the Ink Demon originally looked like this. No arms, no legs, and no running ink on his face. The developers of the game actually nicknamed Alpha Bendy Bird Poop with a Smile. When Chapter 2 released, Bendy was upgraded to this. He now has arms and legs. However, this Bendy was very dull, and he looked more human than demon, and even ran like a human. While we're on the topic of characters, let's take a look at Boris. Thank God that this was changed to this. His walk animation at the end of Chapter 2 was very awkward, though. Sammy Lawrence, who was the main antagonist of Bendy Chapter 2, also looked kind of strange. He didn't have feet, he had these pegs that drove across the floor, and he looked much lankier. And during his dialogue in Chapter 2, he had no moving animation, he just stood there, trying to be menacing. Really quickly, I want to go ahead and talk about the player character and the main protagonist of the game, Henry Stein. His story was Jayve invited him here. After Henry started the Ink Machine, he got trapped in the studio while trying to escape. Once Chapter 3 came out, Bendy was upgraded, kind of. His running was different and he was given a bigger gloved hand. Boris's walk at the end of Chapter 2 was changed to look better, and Alice Angel was introduced and was a very interesting character. However, a lot of fans thought that the fetch quests with minor combat with the Butcher Gang, the Searchers, and the Projectionists made things kinda boring. And then Chapter 4 was released. Everything was changed. Chapter 1 was changed to what it looks like today and looks so much better. Chapter 2 was given a pool room, a better looking sanctuary for Sammy. The sewer section with the swollen searcher remains of Jack Fane was completely new. And Sammy went to the gym and was given an animation. This all was amazing. As for Chapter 3, it looked better, but not a whole lot was changed aside from making the fetch quests much easier, and also adding this hallway from the trailer. Best of all, the Ink Demon's new and final design of Bendy the Ink Machine. It was very creepy. Ink ran down his face, and his new body and running animation was so much better. The limp in his foot made him even more ominous. Just don't let that limp trick you though, because when the Ink Demon spots you, he runs fast as hell. And the new track when he chases you adds much more suspense whenever it's happening. Now on to Chapter 4. The main area of the chapter is Bendyland, a kind of carnival-like area that led to Joey Drew going bankrupt. The goal of the chapter is to find 4 levers and open up the haunted house and go rescue Boris from Alice Angel. In Chapter 4 of the game, introduced boss fights into it, with the Bertram Piedmont boss fight and the boss fight that ends the chapter, which we'll get to that. And also we can see Bendy friggin' rip off the projectionist's head. After all that, we get inside the haunted house, just find out that's too late to save Boris because Alice Angel has already killed him and turned him into this Frankenstein's monster-like character called Brute Boris. And the ending of Chapter 4 stunned everyone. After killing the remains of Boris, Alice Angel tries to attack us, but she gets killed by Alice Angel and Boris? Nah, Chapter 5 confirms that this is Allison and Tom. After Allison and Tom find Henry, they take him as their prisoner, and after he's freed, he fights Sammy Lawrence. And the boss fight ends with Tom shoving his axe in Sammy's head. Boom. After we fight Sammy Lawrence, we team up with Allison and Tom, and we go to the Ink Demon's underground lair, which is where the Beast Bendy boss fight happens. And Beast Bendy looks phenomenal, absolutely creepy, and just amazing. After we put in the end reel and defeat Beast Bendy, the game's ending threw everyone through a world of confusion. After having a small chat with Joey Drew himself, it ends by putting us back at the start of Chapter 1. We were all left there confused and full of fear. We didn't know much about the cycle at the moment. Surely there's another story that I'm sure we'd all like to hear. On November 15, 2022, Bendy and the Dark Revival released after being teased for 4 years. It was a huge step up. So much has changed and upgraded, and the story is also better. Let's go and get straight into it. The game starts off by showing us a destroyed version of Joey's apartment. And then we are immediately met with a new character and our main protagonist, Audrey. On our way to get some coffee, we meet with the game's main protagonist, Wilson, a half-blind, creepy, disgusting janitor. Literally everything about this guy screams villain, including his voice. Audrey. If you weren't suspecting him as the villain, then you were wrong because he stages an elevator short and pulls Audrey into the cycle. Welcome back. I know it says welcome home there, but for us, this is our welcome back into the Bendy world. During this opening, we can find one of the notes of the Gent CEO that I mentioned earlier, Alan Gray, saying that he'll take the ink machine back from Joey by force if he must. One of the first friendly faces that we see in Bendy the Dark Revival is Allison in the Heavenly Toys toy shop from Bendy Chapter 3. She basically just gives us a small rundown on some of the dangers of the cycle and concludes with the Ink Demon. As the cycle went on, the Ink Demon evolved, and he looks so much creepier in Dark Revival. His final design from Ink Machine is great and will always be great, but his design in Dark Revival is great too. He more resembles a demon with his horns. His feet are more like hooves, and the Ink Demon can open his mouth and talks now. And I absolutely love his voice.
My ink swells and boils. It consumes.
Just before meeting the Ink Demon, we meet this sweet little guy. It's little Bendy, and he's friendly, and he likes trains.
I won't hurt you.
Oh no, don't run off, little Bendy. Oh. Throughout the game, we learn more about the Cyclone Wilson, who allegedly killed the Ink Demon. Right. Also, the combat in this game is better, and Audrey has a very interesting power. which is the power to banish the inky creations of the machine. And literally in the smack middle of the game, you meet the man himself, Mr. Joey Drew. Well, not exactly. We meet the ink machine's memory of Joey. Yeah, Joey's dead, sorry. After Joey disappears for a while, we meet Bendy again and he leads us into this city. And whenever we go into this city, we meet Joey again. And he explains a lot and answers so many questions about Bendy and Ink Machine. The Henry that we played as is actually a copy of Henry that Joey made in the Ink Machine to torment for eternity. And it's revealed that Audrey is Joey Drew's daughter. After Audrey demands Joey take her back, he does, and then we get to the Gents building, where we meet the Ink Demon again, and then we see him turn into Little Bendy. Makes sense that they're one and the same, looking back on it now, but it's safe to say that everyone was shocked when they first saw it. As a matter of fact, it's actually Audrey's fault that the Ink Demon was released, because whenever she first met Bendy, Audrey's banishing power accidentally activated and freed him. We get to an area in the Gent building where they keep characters that are called the Cycle Breakers. All of them are familiar faces from the last game. Henry Stein, whose face we see for the first time, Sammy Lawrence, the projectionist's head, the head of the Birch and Piedmont ride from Chapter 4, and a broken window that Alice Angel would be behind. And then these characters that are called the Keepers take us. But they take us to Wilson, and then he tells us that he has a plan to kill the Ink Demon for good. But we should probably rest first, shouldn't we? And Alice Angel just kidnapped us. Great. We do this little riddle that has to be an unintentional reference to FNAF, and Alice Angel frees us. But then we get into a boss fight with her, and when Audrey tries to banish her, Alice stops her and tries to shoot Audrey's face off, but then Allison kills her, giving a much better ending to Alice Angel's story, with her being happy that she's beautiful after seeing Allison's face. Then we meet with Allison and Tom again. Cool scar, Tom. After Audrey tells them about Wilson's plan, they go back to free the rest of the Cycle Breakers, and Audrey returns to Wilson. This is where Wilson's plan to kill the Ink Demon is more revealed. He introduces us to his original character, Shippahoy Dudley, and he tries to use Audrey as a subject to control, but instead Wilson gets himself chopped up into it. And his claim about being able to kill the Ink Demon was far from correct, because after Wilson gets banished, the Ink Demon literally rips its throat out in seconds. After Shippahoy Dudley's death, the Ink Demon and Audrey form as one and become Beast Bendy. This version of Beast Bendy looks similar to the design in Ink Machine, but still looks so much better too. After killing Joey, Audrey takes control of Beast Bendy, and with the help of Allison, Tom, and Henry, Audrey uses the projectionist's head to restart the cycle. Audrey leaves the cycle and claims that she will make it better. However, the post-credits scene shows the Gent taking the Ink Machine away, which was basically our first teaser to Bendy 3, which we know little to nothing about. There was one certain character missing from the Dark Revival. One little friendly wolf. Oh, Boris, I was just about to start talking about you. Oh, is this for me? Thanks. Ooh, it's making soup. Dang, that's pretty good. Oh, can you just give me like 1 minute, please? Thanks. Boris in the Dark Survival was a spin-off game in the Bendy universe that was released February 10th, 2020. In this game we play as Boris the Wolf, living off whatever we can find and fearing the Ink Demon. However, Boris in the Dark Survival was kind of a teaser game for Bendy in the Dark Revival. And it's a gameplay loop of going back, taking 6 items, and then coming up could get boring. Luckily, it's getting rebranded into Bendy Lone Wolf. Bendy Lone Wolf is going to be placed at the same time as Bendy in the Dark Revival. This was partially teased in the Dark Revival gallery, saying Boris is on a Dark Survival of his own. Lone Wolf is going to be a graphic update with a better story, more endings, new puzzles, new enemies, new combat, but the same old Boris the Wolf that we love. And to better fit into the story, they're using Ink Demon model from Dark Revival. Now, I just want to go ahead and say for the record that this video is getting filmed about a month in advance. So I don't know if Bendy Lone Wolf came out in January, I don't know if it came out today or if it's not released yet. So just know that I'm very excited for it. Bendy Secrets of the Machine came out in April of 2024. It was another teaser-like game, kind of like Boris in the Dark Survival, except this time it was more teaser than gameplay. However, there is some story in it. It introduces a completely new character by the name of Riley Wells. Her parents died in a car accident and she constantly draws terrifying characters to cope with it? I don't know. She draws characters like the monstrous car from Bendy and Nightmare Run, Gasket, and often uses red ink in her drawings. And since Riley draws so well, Joey Drew sends her Lair to help create cartoons at the studio. However, her drawings end up being too scary for the studio's cartoons, and she gets fired. And Riley's last resort is Gent. Employees at Gent experiment with living ink inside of humans. That's basically the Riley story in Secrets of the Machine. So remember how I said it was another teaser-like game? Well, this game teased multiple future projects in the Bendy universe. One project in particular is called Bendy the Cage, a game that's also coming this year, and the story is explaining how Henry in the game escaped the pit. Now there's 2 theories that I can put in here, both of them were constructed by Tom over at Game Theory. One being that Nightmare Run was a foreshadowing to Riley's story. Gasket began Riley's life of misery when her parents died, Chester being her financial problems, Canoodle being the fear of going homeless, and Dewey being the living ink from Gent. Also, just a little bit of Bendy trivia. You can find Chester outside of the Ink Demon's lair in Bendy the Ink Machine. The next theory is that Riley will be the antagonist of Bendy the Cage, and the reason why is because the few teasers of the cage that we got last year, we see the use of red ink in Lost One's designs, this creepy saw-like trap on this guy's head, and the creepier looks to the Lost Ones overall. Both these theories seem very likely, and I can't wait to get an answer. After Bendy the Cage, we will get Bendy 3, which is going to be the last mainline Bendy game. I already spoke about it at the beginning of the video. Now what else is there to talk about? Well, the Bendy the Ink Machine movie. It's speculated to be releasing later this year, and it will not be a musical. Which, by the way, who the hell thought this was going to be a musical? There was another game that was teased called Bendy the Silent City, but we don't know anything about that yet. Only thing we can theorize is that it's probably going to be a Western style shooting game. With all that said, let me know if you want me to make a video in the future talking about new Bendy stuff whenever it's all released. I'm Super Monster Fredbear, and I will see you on the flip side.